Welcome back, guys. Favorite interview partner here, Merkel again, and we're talking about equities. Obviously, Merkel, buy and hold strategy. He's my personal Warren Buffett when it comes to investing because he buys to never sell his shares anymore. And on his background, you can see quite some stocks are red, quite some stocks are green. Merkel, question at first, what's the most interesting market to invest in for you currently?
Yeah, hello together. Yeah, the most interesting market which I invest at the moment is the Chinese market, because the Chinese market I fully invested already since several years already, and I believe that the Chinese market has it's very strong currently, and I'm very bullish for that market.
In regards to technology, you have anything in particular from the Chinese market where you would say to invest?
Yeah, especially the Hang Seng. The Hang Seng is currently he met a resistance, so it needs a little bit time maybe until it breaks through. But as soon as this is done, 24,000 about, then we will see definitely higher highs. So around 27,000 would be the next target in that index.
Do you see some sort of fragmentation in the economy? If you're looking at US technology stocks, right, the Magnificent Seven, and Chinese technology stocks, do you see some of the stocks in China, tech stocks, being like overvalued in terms of valuations, maybe?
I think the Chinese, as long I follow up the Chinese market and the American market, I'm quite sure they have not too much to do with each other. I think the Chinese market I see totally separate from the Western markets. But in that case, I count Japanese market to the Western markets, not to the Asian markets. So the Chinese market for me is there's an own life, let's say.
Yeah, and now we
so
see.
Yes, I do not compare that both markets. China and USA is for me totally separate.
We've seen recently that the markets were correcting sharply, and the Chinese market is starting to appreciate, say, again, within the past couple of months, but it's still lagging behind. What's the reason why China is not starting to take off any further?
They will take off. I think the liquidity from the government is coming. The economic becomes stronger and stronger step by step. But we need a little bit patience here. I have already patience some years long, by the way, after 8 years drawdown. Yeah. So it's a market which is painful, but if you have patience, you will get a success for 100%.
Talking about the recent correction, that was in April, and we've seen, and you shared a valuable and interesting graphic as well previously. Whenever there was a strong correction, the markets were doing what? Please explain us a little bit. What should we expect from an investor's standpoint?
It's a 100% indicator. It means always if the market went down by 18% or more, and reached 3 months later, or within the next 3 months, a new year high of the year, it was 100% sure that 12 months later the index is significantly higher. So in that case, we had that year in April until July in the S&P. So I'm very confident that we see in 12 months much higher markets at the moment. Western markets, S&P.
Good point with the Western markets, because the US, the S&P 500 index has been already rising sharply over the fairly recent years. Do you see that America, say compared to China, will still equally grow further, like in terms of comparing S&P to the Hang Seng, for example?
In the middle term, for sure. I believe that. America also, the companies in America are very strong. So I believe they also will go on further. Not forever, maybe. Nobody knows. But for the next year, I'm very confident of that.
You don't see much issues in regards to the big, beautiful bill implemented by Donald Trump, that the debt burden becomes too high in the US? Or is it just because they print off everything and then print more money to finance the debt?
For the moment, they print more money, and that is very well for the stock markets. In the longer term, when we think about some years long, the debits become higher and higher. So this is dangerous for a market. So we can see a very very sharp correction within the next years. This could happen, but I do not believe that we see that in the middle term of 1 year or 1.5 years. I do not believe it. I think we see higher stock markets in the western part of the world for sure. I'm convinced of this.
Yeah. Fairly recently, my expectation coming from the FX trading point of view, you are from the investment point of view, but also looking at the US dollar. To me, the US dollar has lost sharp momentum because the expectation is ruling markets that interest rates will be cut. Now, we see that the euro dollar has climbed to higher levels. Do you see that the US dollar will continue to weaken, or do you see something else at the moment?
I guess it will weaken a little. I don't know if in the short term maybe it becomes a little stronger. Nobody knows that. But I think in middle term, so within the next, until the end of the year, I guess that I think the US dollar will become stronger. So it will turn again against the current trend will turn. But that is my opinion in that. So, but this will also mean if this happens in the next 3 months regarding the over the summer, I guess then we see a small correction in the S&P, maybe 10%, I hope. So it's a good chance to buy it for the investors again before we see another race in the market.
Exactly my point, because I'm thinking the same, that the dollar is so much undervalued. I think now that especially the quieter summer month, traders are on holidays, hedge fund managers maybe spend their time at the beach, whatever, hottest summer in Europe as we hear. So maybe dollar appreciation making stocks in the US more expensive, and that hence obviously might cause the S&P as well to fall. You said the market and the S&P might maybe correct a little bit, which is what I expect as well. Where would you see strong ideas where to invest in the US if the markets correct a little bit?
It's up what you prefer and which kind of investor you are. If you are a defense investor like me, which is take focus on dividends and on safety, on a safety portfolio, I would say healthcare is quite good priced at the moment. Also, stable consumers are good priced. Energy, good priced. Utilities may be good priced. So this that are my targets to rebuy if the market correct a little bit. But if you are young and you have time and you have a future in the market, so you are 20 years old, maybe I would buy ETFs, maybe on the NASDAQ, on the S&P, strong ETFs, which you really over the years do performance. You know, it's a little bit up to your age, up to your life situation, to all that things. You cannot generally say, but this is the situation. No? In generally, cheapest healthcare defense values are currently not overpriced, but I believe they become a little back in a correction, and then it's the right time to buy them. For me, that is my idea of investing at the moment.
We talked a lot about the S&P 500, but we are a little bit missing out on the smaller cap stocks. Give us your ideas maybe about an ETF, say Russell 2000. What do you think about the smaller cap companies in the US? Would they offer interesting alternatives?
For sure. The Russell 2000 is a very interesting market at the moment because by falling funds, we help them to support, and they will come. The funds will fall. The Fed will reduce the funds, and this will support this market especially. And the same thing. If you are investor with time for the future, I would a small position in a ETF of the Russell 2000, for example. It's a good idea. If you have time and it's at the moment for sure good price, then it's a good invest for long term, 5 years plus maybe. Planning in the mind 5 years plus. So here I would, but not overpricing the portfolio. Only a small position. Huh?
Yeah,
it's a risky market. It's not the same as China. It's not how to say, it's a highly risk. So take care of diversification.
If we now buy a share in the US and the US dollar falls further, that means our shares lose some value, but also the profit and the loss of the shares, right? The price difference actually. Can you run us through a little bit and give us some ideas on how we should make use of it, what we should expect, and how we maybe can kind of use this in our advantage?
I would I can only recommend to every investor, see it as chance, not as problem. It means we have a sharp correction in the last 6 months regarding the euro dollar. So in case you have cash in hand, is it a chance to buy US stocks now cheaper? It is not a problem that your portfolio went down a bit, because over the years, it will balance that. The currency always balanced out over the years. It might be need some years, could be, nobody knows, but it will be rebalanced automatically. So if you use the chance now with strong euros to buy cheap assets in US, it's a good opportunity for every investor. So, and I not agreed what a lot of people recommend to sell now US stocks and buy European stocks. I would not do that. I would keep the balance between Europe and US, but I would never sell it out because of the currency reason.
Makes total sense, obviously, because still the profit and loss actually fluctuates, but still, if we are not in need to liquidate, right, we can keep our US dollar-based positions and keep our US dollars basically parked in shares. And when the US dollar appreciates, kind of, and we wanted to sell, then we can kind of transfer again US dollars towards euro. That's, by the way, what we've been doing also, kind of trading in a family office, where we use the currency fluctuations in our advantage, because we are not in need, obviously, to kind of deleverage and liquidate any positions. So that brings me to the next question, Merkel, because I know you're very, how do you call it? You're very anal about putting a trading journal into your favor. How would you traders, or maybe investors rather, tell how to write and what to put in a trading journal?
Every investor which invests in a stock share or in an ETF or whatever it is, in a product at the stock market, should knowing, or should write down, maybe is a better way, should write down why I bought that stock or why I bought that product. For example, if you're writing down, I want only to have a yearly dividend, so you have not to focus if I can say an example, you buy McDonald's, and you buy this only on focus of the dividend. You only have to take care if McDonald's is a stable, they not change their business models or whatever. If it goes a little down or up, whatever it happened, no problem for you. You get your dividend. So you know what I mean. So if you buy a stock share for raising, maybe you say, I want to have in 7 years double, so it should be doubling. So, and you say, no, after some years you have 30% loss. Then you have to think about, I would sell it out, because this was not the reason why I bought that stock. So you must be clear before for what you buy it. What is your target with this? Then if you buy an MSCI World ETF, for example, should be the target to make 6 to 8% per year. This should be the target, because there is no other reason to buy this ETF as a young investor. So this means after maybe 10 years, you should look back, is this really happened? Yeah. Or is it not happened? Or is there maybe a better product in the market which I can change if it's not happened? And also take a little bit of look in the future. Do I believe that it can happen again for the next 10 years? Or do I no more trust this product? But as long everything is like, oh, I would never change any product. As long my target...
As a long-term investor, how often do you look at the trading journal, and how often maybe do you adjust, or what's the factors you add on a constant basis?
Twice a year, maybe. Not more.
Okay. Twice a year, yeah. From a trading perspective, I can only emphasize that this helps you from a risk perspective, and I actually do the same, right? But for me, it's more shorter-term trades. Obviously, I'm writing down. I'm taking a screenshot of the charts. I'm writing down what I expect from what charting pattern. But exactly as you said, Mirko, for you, it's maybe the company, the business models, for the pure idea of getting dividends, or for the idea of getting a rise in prices. Do you also kind of follow up afterwards and say, if you have, for example, sold some shares, do you check afterwards and say, maybe, okay, it would have been better to hold it, or maybe it's time to buy again? Is that something you look into as well?
It could be, but I guess in my whole life, I never rebought a complete sold position. I think I never did. But I keep an eye on that. I keep them still in my watch list because I'm interested what they're doing after I sell them. But it's no more really an opportunity for me, not usually, because I sell very less. I sell per year, I have maybe 2 or 3 sell order. Not for sure, not more, maximum. The target is that I have no sell order. Yeah. So in case I have really a sell order, I keep an eye on that, what they are doing and so on. But when I sold them, then has this a really deeply reason. So this reason will not change quickly back or whatever. You know, maybe I can give an example. Burberry. I had Burberry in my portfolio. Was a dividend stock. They paid me 5% dividend. After they changed completely their, their portfolio, what they sell, they changed the CEO, they changed everything, they canceled the dividend, they had financial problems. It came a lot of things together. So it was a clearly sell for me. I sold them out, even with loss. Okay, no problem, I agree that, because you have to, it's always a balance of your complete portfolio. And then, but I keep still an eye on them, but I would now not rebuy them, usually. Because they still follow that way, what they changed, and I didn't believe in that way.
That's obviously what you have in mind, or is that something what you write down in your trading journal as well? Because it's a valid...
I write that down. I write that down behind Burberry. It's in my sales, under my sales order. It is fixed forever, and they've written the reason. So that's
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Great. Makes total sense. To add up as a trader, maybe I would do, I would still add screenshot as well of the chart when I sold it. And then usually what I do, depending on if it's a daily or weekly or monthly chart, then I would kind of review it and say like, hey, I could have held on for this trade for longer, maybe just to get an eye and feel on my trading strategy. Let's move away a little bit from investing and especially from trading, but the US dollar, the gold price, Mirko, we see geopolitical tensions have been easing a little bit. For that matter, maybe also the gold price keeps falling somewhat. It's at least trading at lower levels at the moment, and we've fallen slightly in the last couple of trading weeks. We are trading at 3,325 US dollars. Is that something which you look as well for the indication of gold rising, financial system problems, dollar strength, dollar weakness? Something for you interesting?
Well, it's a small indicator for me, no? Because I'm always interesting to see before maybe if I can see the correction coming or not. So the gold price is one indicator of several. So, but it's not really as an investment for me. I do not hold any gold. And I do not hold any mining companies or whatever. So at least with gold itself, I have nothing to do. But I use them same as the oil price as an indicator.
Next one up is the oil market, because you mentioned oil just now, trading below 70 US dollars. After the Iran story has calmed down, oil was plummeting, right? So that's obviously another indicator for you, the oil market.
It is a small indicator of how the economic will develop in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
On that I can, if a strong oil price, I believe that the economic is good on the way. But I have some oil companies because they are very good dividend companies. So I have some in the portfolio, but it's highly the high vola, to go up, down. So you must also in that case diversification, not too much of one field, to have one field overload in your portfolio.
European stocks, how's the outlook at the moment in Europe? Do you see more upside because the interest rate is down and the companies are seemingly behaving better? What do you think?
Yes, no change in Europe. It's still good priced. It's a little bit more expensive now. It's a half year, 1 year ago. But I still believe they are still on a good way. That the stock markets, not the countries itself, the stock markets are on a good way. And yes, I see. I told already some months ago the DAX. I see more than 30,000, definitely. So and yeah, if there comes a small drawdown correction, it's for sure a good opportunity to buy some European ETFs or European stocks. I'm very confident also for Europe.
We've created a new all-time high. I'm just eyeing the chart yesterday. The DAX now above 24,600 already. And yeah, the trend looks extremely positive. And yeah, obviously, most of the companies and the long-term trend as well, they earn their money overseas, but the DAX in particular is cool. Mirko, final statement, anything for the next couple of weeks investment-wise? What's the hottest pick for you where you would eye and say, maybe this is the stock to buy for you, or anything else you would like to give our audience back?
I believe keep some cash in hands a little bit, maybe 10%, 12%, 20%, and then rebuy if the market correct, because I believe in the middle term we will see much higher stocks as now. So maybe consumer staples, maybe a Pepsi or something, take a look to it. That is a 50 years chance, which this chance was only 3 times, I think, that Pepsi came so much back as at the moment. For example, or Diageo, or there are some values which are really interesting at the moment, some dividend values especially. Yeah, and use the chance to rebuy. I think we have a bright near future after a small correction.
Can't agree more, Merkel. Thanks for your valuable time again. Time to go back to work, at least for me here as well, but I know you're always busy as well, day in, day out. Guys, leave your comments under the video if you have any questions, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well to get also more information in regards not only to trading investment, but in particular as well, Mirko's insights for long-term investment ideas. Mirko, thanks a lot for your time. Talk soon. Have a good day. See you then. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.